K-pop has never completely conformed to the conservatism of South Korea itself. Even way back at its beginning, Taeji boys, who were considered the first K-pop group, often talked about South Korea's cruel school system and the pressures Korean society places on young people in their music, causing many songs of this to get banned. K-pop idols have seemed to get more and more outspoken as the generations have continued, still talking about topics that are controversial in South Korea and also, potentially, international too. One topic that falls in that intersection is queerness. There have been a few videos made on this subject, most notably by Katerina Rose, who made a whole 45-minute breakdown of LGBTQ rights, LGBTQ in K-pop media, mass influxion of queer fans, fan service, queer baiting, shipping etc. She really dives headfirst into this topic and I have taken a lot of inspiration from her video. However, in this video, I'm mainly going to be tackling the issue of queer EP and queer idols in K-pop, as well as South Korea's conservatism when it comes to LGBTQ people. Welcome to Let's Talk About, a video essay series, where we discuss subjects related to the K-pop industry. Brought to you by doyoungunion. K-media has seen a rise in LGBTQ people in both fiction and real life. Despite the South Koreans' government seemingly unchanging homophobia, creatives in movie and television, and more importantly, the South Korean population, have been becoming more and more accepting of queer people. This progressiveness is obviously being upheld by Gen Z, just like in most other countries. So K-movies and K-shows have been more open to showing and highlighting LGBTQ people, but what about K-pop? I think it's fair to say the K-pop industry is lacking queer representation. Don't get me wrong, the outwardly acceptance and love for queer people and fans shown by K-pop idols is monumental in itself, but where do we see ourselves reflected in these idols, in their music videos, in their songs? For a fandom where a good chunk of fans are LGBTQ+, it is a pretty isolating place for us. We need openly queer role models, a safe space, someone who understands what it's like to be queer in a world that constantly belittles us. Now, there is a limited amount of loud and proud queer idols out there, but limited does not mean zero. Disclaimer, this list does not mention every queer K-pop idol ever, only the most well-known ones to make my research for this video easier to do. Also, this is only discussing these K-pop idols in proximity to their LGBTQ identity, and not them as people. If they have done or said something fucked up, I obviously don't agree with them. Firstly, we have Lady, a South Korean girl group formed in 2005. They had 4 members: Simi, Sahara, Banu, and Yuna, and they were all trans women. Unfortunately, they disbanded in 2007 because of bad reception and transphobia. Apparently, the group was inspired by Harasu, a singer and entertainer who is also a trans woman. D.I.P's Seungho and B.Nish said that they were dating and had been for a while in a live broadcast. D.I.P disbanded in 2016 and B.Nish debuted in a group called QI.X in 2020. His new company put out a statement about B.Nish's relationship with Seungho, calling them just close colleagues. MAMAN, whose stage name was MAGOPLY, debuted under Jellyfish Entertainment in 2007. Soon after her debut, she came out as gay during an interview. She was kicked out of Jellyfish and moved to a new company, but she hasn't released any music or content since 2015. HOLLAND is a K-pop idol who has become somewhat of a household name. First debuting in 2018, he really came for all the homophobes' throats. The music video for his debut track, Neverland, includes him kissing another man, which instantly got it a 19+ rating in South Korea. However, this didn't stop him from wanting to share his experience as a queer man in South Korea. In fact, HOLLAND has gone on to do insanely well for himself, setting up his own company and always attending high-end events around the world. Following his journey has honestly been so inspirational to watch. He's so outspoken and so prideful, but also so raw when it comes to him talking about what has happened in his life. Plus, him and Jiwoon being besties is basically my entire existence now. There is no doubt he's made an historical impact for queer youth everywhere. There are also fully LGBTQ K-pop groups like LIONESSES and my personal favorites, QI.X, which stands for Queer Idols Infinity. QI.X consists of Prin, who uses they/them pronouns and labels theirself as non-binary. Jigak or June Green, who uses he/they pronouns and labels theirself as gender fluid. And Zen, who uses she/they pronouns and identifies theirself as queer and unlabeled. There are 2 members who are currently on hiatus/have left the group. Meek, who uses they/them pronouns and labels theirself as genderqueer, and Yera, who uses they/them pronouns and has said they did not want to label theirself. This group is one of the most important projects to come out of recent K-pop. The trans representation seen by these 5 individuals is truly remarkable. Even in the West and more accepting countries, it is extremely rare to see so many non-cis people occupying space in music and entertainment industries in a group like this, and also speaking out about topics that are seen to be controversial, something which majority idols don't do or are not allowed to do. They could pave the way for more open discussions about LGBTQ identities not only in K-pop, but in South Korea in general. With the change of Korea's current social climate, more K-pop idols and regular citizens may feel empowered to be themselves. So, there are a few queer idols in the industry. That's a fact. But what about rep? Well, there is, expectedly, even less. It seems like out of the idols we previously talked about, HOLLAND, LIONESSES, and QI.X are the only K-pop artists who include queerness in their work, whether that's visually or lyrically. So, what happens when not openly queer or presumably straight, and cis, K-pop idols do the same thing? OnlyOneOf is a boy group under 8D Entertainment who currently have 6 active members. KB, Ri, Yujing, Junji, Mil, and 9. Former member Love was present until August 2021. You might know them best from their breakout hit, Libido. OnlyOneOf has a queer concept. Now when I say a queer concept, I'm not talking about some code stuff. You'll remember that whole mess where the director thought that queer people would give their group a fan base if they sexualized and fetishized lesbian and sapphic people for views. And only said the music video for their song La 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 was queer coded when they obviously had the ability to actually call it blatantly queer, but I digress. OnlyOneOf, however, have never denied the queerness in their work, and most importantly, don't mainly focus on the naughty aspect of queer relationships. Of course, they've touched on it. The Devil's Tango is part of most romantic relationships. Shout out to my ace viewers, love you very much. But it's not the basis for OnlyOneOf's entire concept. Now I've made nearly half an hour worth of content explaining in detail why as a queer person, I love OnlyOneOf so much. Some things I mentioned in those videos is how OnlyOneOf shows a grounded, realistic portrayal of the queer universal experience. The realization, the queerphobia, religious trauma, unbalanced relationships, bullying, internalized queerphobia and acceptance. More queer themes like chosen family or intersectionality have not really been touched on, but I can't really complain when they have presented so many themes already and done so stupendiously well and genuinely. This well-rounded portrayal of queer individuals is legitimately some of the best queer ep I've ever seen. Maybe I'm biased because yes, I'm a stan. But you can tell that the boys and their directors and producers genuinely care about telling real stories that real people have experienced. They truly do say it how it is. Now I'm not here to argue about queer baiting, but let me make one thing clear, OnlyOneOf are not queer baiting. Being queer is a constant theme in their comebacks, showing a new problem or realization with each release which actually correlates to the outside world. Not a one-time thing, not just some shots of members holding each other's faces, or getting physically close, or whatever, actual stories that queer people can see themselves in, and find comfort from. I just want to say, this is not me coming after any idol who has done this. It's more me calling out companies for wanting to do some rainbow propaganda, but not committing to queer storylines, or wanting openly queer trainees or idols under their labels. This is insane hypocrisy. Okay, but the question is why? Is there a lack of queer idols and queer ep in the K-pop industry? Conservatism. Commitment to traditional values and ideas with opposition to change or innovation. Currently in South Korea, President Yoon Suk-yeol is in office, who is affiliated with the People Power Party, a conservative political party. Now, Korea has had a mix of right-wing, left-wing, independent and military parties, but even the most liberal of selected presidents have had pretty conservative views. For example, the previous president Moon Jae-in had allegedly tried to silence human rights groups for helping North Korean defectors, and he opposes same-sex marriage. Neither did he support the proposal of South Korea's first comprehensive anti-discrimination law for minorities. So when it came to who would be sworn into office, there was not much hope for queer people in South Korea, or any oppressed groups for that matter. LGBTQ rights in South Korea are almost non-existent. In the military, men can be put in jail for having same-sex intercourse. Civil unions or same-sex marriage is not recognized. National law also doesn't protect queer people from discrimination based on sexuality or gender identity, and same-sex couples are not allowed permission to adopt children. As well as this, LGBTQ students have to put up with underfunded, non-confidential mental health support, bullying, harassment and exclusion from the curriculum. The few rights queer people do have in South Korea is the ability for trans people to legally change their sex, and same-sex intercourse is legal for the general public. Hong Seok is a TV personality who came out in 2000. The backlash was so intense that he was immediately fired, and it seemed like his career was over. The hatred got so bad that he even considered committing suicide. It took him years to be able to gain the public's favor again, but luckily for him, he did, being able to restart his career, and has become extremely successful. It's very clear to see why there aren't many openly queer idols. The discrimination you have to face, just as a person for being LGBT in South Korea is immense, but then add being a public figure onto your humanity and you are bound to get even more hatred. This all seems pretty obvious, but K-pop is a performance industry. Queer people often flock to more artistic careers. There are absolutely loads of LGBTQ K-pop idols out there. However, the abandonment and dismissal of LGBT rights means coming out is almost impossible. An idol's debut and a flourishing career is hardly ever guaranteed, so why would they want to ruin all their hard work and come out, only to get kicked out of their company and ostracized by people, online and offline? With the social and political state of South Korea at the moment, the country is nowhere near safe enough for people to come out and live their life unaffected by policies and the public. Thank you for watching this episode. This took me a while to complete because I became unexpectedly busy, but also this video was kind of depressing to make. However, I do realize how important this topic is to talk about. As a final note, I would like to say, no idol owes you their coming out. No one has a right to know. We can make jokes and keep it lighthearted and have fun, but forcing a label onto an idol is not okay. Stereotyping is not okay. Being queerphobic is not okay. A lot has gone on since writing and making this video, especially with aespa's Karina, so I thought I should just remind you. These apply to every idol and just everyone in general. Let's not make this fandom even more toxic than it already is.